Hello everyone, Verb here. It was requested that I look into the gotcha system a little bit more, and it just so happens there's a decision that we're going to have to make in about a month about whether or not we're going to pull for a certain very desirable card in Admire Vega Guts. This card is going to be alongside Narita Trop Road SSR on the first anniversary banner, along with a bunch of other SR cards that have less value, at least generally believed. But for a lot of people, Admire Vega SR seems to be the headliner card, and it's just sort of an additional bonus to actually pull the banner SSR card, Narita Top Road, which is also a very good card for Matt. It is to the point that the current banner, which has Admire Vega Power alongside Matakani Futikaru, which is an end closer's only source of Daring Strike, people really have to think about, well, are you going to run Admire Vega Power because you're not going to be able to run Admire Vega Guts? You can't run both of them in the same deck, so really how much use does this card have? And I understand the sentiment because Admire Vega Power on paper looks like a very, very good card, especially for Matt. It comes with 15% race bonus. It comes with the speed bonus and a power bonus, two of the strongest stats as we've determined in the Nice Nature, Why I'm Pulling For It video. It has incredibly high friendship bonus and mood effect. Its only downside, really, which isn't a downside in Mant, is that it's a Guts card. So Guts cards are generally not viewed fondly in other scenarios besides Mant. And the thing is that this power really happens at MLB. Admire Vega 0LB is perfectly fine, but you do lose, even at 3LB, the power bonus. And that doesn't seem like much at the start. I mean, you lose a little bit of race bonus, but 13 is still better than most cards on the market. Even at 0LB, 10 is very passable. But at that MLB, you have that additional power bonus. In Mant, these are how the facilities are going to work. And if you do the math for just it alone, like Admire Vega by herself on a friendship training, which is what you're going to be aiming for, you find that this power bonus actually increases the additional power output by 33%, and that's just alone without any other card. In Mant, you're really going to be trying to stack a bunch of friendship trainings all onto Guts if you're going the Guts build. And so this is really closer to an additional from 3 to 4 power, right? Additional 25% times the total friendship, mood, TEF, everything. So it's going to be more than 33% additional power output, even from 3LB to 4LB. That's not to say 0LB isn't serviceable, but it isn't the absolute monster that you're seeing that people are talking about that the MLB version has. So, okay, let's just pull 5 copies on the banner, right? Easy. Well, there's some problems with that, okay? The pull rates for the SR cards on this banner, they have an increased pull rate of 1%. This is above that of an SSR, which is nice. In addition, at the guaranteed 10 pull, at this point in time, there will be 40 options from my calculations. As a disclaimer, I was learning about this whole thing just as much as you guys were a couple of days ago, about a week ago, when I started looking into this topic. So there may be some minor mistakes, but I will be in the ballpark of the actual, I'll be in the ballpark of what the actual percentage is. But for my calculations, it's a 1 in 40 chance it's not going to be boosted at all because it's above the 1% threshold. And so at the 10th pull, in a guaranteed 10 pull, it will be 2.42% that you actually pull a specific Admire Vega card. So we have for your first through 9th pull on a 10 pull is a 1%, and on the 10th pull, it's a 2.42%. What does this mean? This is a Bernoulli trial. I just learned about this, but essentially Bernoulli trial is just any situation where you have a success and a failure. In this case, our success, we get Admire Vega SR, and our failure is we don't on any particular pull. Essentially, all it's saying is the probability that we have a hit in our pull is 1 minus 1 minus the chance of success raised to the number of trials. This is simple probability. And so for 60 pulls, we have 54 normal pulls and 6 SR guaranteed pulls, which have the rates described here. And essentially we fill in this equation. So we have a 99% chance of failure raised to 54 trials and we have a 97.5% chance of failure raised to 6 trials in the 60 free pulls that we will be getting. So essentially, in order to get at least one Admire Vega copy in the free pulls, 45.3% of us will have that. So there's a 45.3% of success to get at least one copy. Now, in order to increase the multiple successes, it gets incredibly complicated incredibly quickly, and even in terms of probability, it gets really computer intensive to actually model this. And so math people figured out that there's a method of approximating this. It's called the Poisson approximation. Now, this math is also very difficult, but notably it can be done in a computer very quickly. So if you fill in this one, essentially all it's saying is that you have a gamma value, which is your expected value, and you fill it into this equation where you summation all the chances going from having 0, so you have 0 copies total, all the way to the number of copies you're going for, so all the way up to a failure. In this case, we're going to look at how many chances that we get a full MLB in our free pulls. Well, we take the chance of getting 0, 1, 2, or 3 copies, right? These are our failure states. And we sum them all together, and we find the total failure chance, and then we subtract it from 1 to find our success chance. That's all this is saying. There's a lot of math to go through, but if we find this equation and we finish it out, we find that basically only 0.15% chance of success to actually get all 5, which makes sense. You're going to get 5 SR cards of a certain type. In 60, that seems quite unlikely, right? And if you're going and you have those shards that you're supposed to be, that people have been saying to not use on your other SR cards, the gold shards, you may only need 3 at this point. And even then, the free pulls, you're only 3.3% of us are going to have 3 or more copies. So 97% of us won't. Let's say you're going to pull 200 pulls because you're not really wanting the Narita Top Road SSR. You kind of just want Admire Vega SR. Well, we can follow the same formula, except we just only, we are looking for 3+, right? Or 5+. And we just increase these values to 200, right? The number of pulls to 200 instead of 60. We follow the same formula. We have the same expected value because it's the same percent chances of success or failure. And we're going to find that you have an 8% chance over 200 pulls to MLB an SR card. And we have a 40% chance, which is a lot nicer, to get 3 or more copies, but it's still less than half. And so the problem with this banner is that because it's not an SSR card, there's absolutely zero failsafe. There's no way to just say, hey, I want this SR card. No, you're just going to get Narita Top Road copies. So this means that if you're exceptionally unlucky, which it's possible, half of us are going to require 225 pulls in order to get 3 or more copies. 1 out of every 10 of us is going to take 468 pulls to get it. That's incredibly bad luck. Who's going to pull 600 on this banner, right, to get there? 1 out of every 100 of us are going to require 740 pulls. This is all just using this equation here. Only all we're doing is we're saying, well, we're going to have 50% luck. So the left side, how do we make this 50%? We essentially iterate over this equation, and we find the value that equals the probability being 50% for median, 90% for unlucky, 99% for very unlucky, super unlucky, and 99.9% to be the unluckiest person, right? So what I've determined from this study is that, hey, if you're unlucky, you can't guarantee anything on this banner for Admire Vega SR. 97% of us won't have 3 or more copies through the free pulls themselves. 55% of us won't have a single copy after the free pull. In terms of expected value, 60% of us will require more than 200 pulls to get 3+ copies because 40% of us will have 3 or more copies. 10% of us will require more than 473 pulls to get 3+ copies. 1% of us, if we're exceptionally unlucky, and it can happen, will require 740 plus pulls to get 3+ copies. And 1 in 1,000 of us, let's see, I average about 1,000 views a video at this point, right? Thanks for that, by the way. I'm sorry, one of you may need over 1,000 pulls essentially to get 3+ copies. There's no safety net that stops us from just getting absolutely destroyed by the gotcha system this time. And that's the trouble with this banner. Some good news is that Vega at 0 LB still has 10% race bonus and is completely usable. She's not the absolute powerhouse because of the power bonus, but she still, if you really think about it, is very good at increasing her speed, and it's very good at increasing guts. Still 2 of the 3 stats that you're kind of looking for. Really, like I said, the guts build really is looking for speed and power, and it still does half of that at 0 LB. It just gets much better at MLB. In addition, there is, 12, 14, 10% race bonus or higher cards. You don't necessarily need this card to exist in Mant. It's one of the most free-to-play friendly versions. The reason why the Guts build has been talked about so much is because it has 2 free-to-play cards in Yukino Bijin as well as Haru Urara. Those 2 cards you can just get if you played the events, right? So really this is just pushing it to the next level by having the 3 Guts cards required being absolute, ridiculously good. But I attest that a lot of you probably have either Air Groove or Seeking the Pearl. Seeking the Pearl is 5%, but still decent to fill that 3rd gut slot. And I believe probably most of you have Marvelous Sunday SR or some combination of Nishino Flower SR that have 15% that to compensate it. And so there's other options you can do in your builds that don't require this card. Hey everyone, Future Burb here. I completely missed a single point I was going to make, so I'm just going to stitch this into the video and then we can get back to past me. But I'm not 100% convinced that Guts Maxing is the only or the best strategy even. I don't think people are saying that, but I think you can still run a speed power whip build and do absolutely just fine. There's many ways to play this game in Mant because really, honestly, race bonus is king in Mant. That's the stat that really matters. You want as high race bonus as possible, so use the cards that you have that have the highest race bonus. So let's just get back into the past me. Who should pull on this banner is if you want the MLB NTR card, like Narita Top Road SSR. It's the same rules as any other banner. If you have 60,000 carats and you want to MLB a card, because this card is also one of the 2 best speed cards between this and Fuku, right? Arguments for Shinko Windy. We'll talk about that later. And so this is a very good card to pull for, but you need 60,000 carats, right? Because this card's only good at MLB, really? It's decent at 3LB. So the rules don't dissolve just because we're looking for an SR card. We can't guarantee that. If you're going through the free pulls and you get 0 copies, are you really going to risk the chance? Because this is the gambler's fallacy. Just because you've gotten unlucky in the first 60 pulls doesn't mean you're going to get less unlucky in the next 140. I have a friend who is currently on a 250 no SSR streak, which is ridiculous. That's 1 in 2,000 and climbing. You could be that unluckiest person. I don't want to scare you in saying that you will be. Statistically speaking, you won't be the most unlucky person. I'm just saying that be prudent with your gems and follow the same rules as any other banner in that you have options already. This is a nice to have. And if you want the SSR card, certainly pull for this. SRs are just a bonus. And if you get 3LB, sure, that's nice. If you get 3 copies, so 2LB, that's nice. If you don't, it's not the end of the world. You don't have to unload your entire season of carats on it. It's 1 card. And there's some more detrimental effects that'll happen as things go on. Some additional notes to illustrate this is you as a player, if you played for a long time, you've pulled probably close to 1,000 pulls by now, right? I'm going to grab some water. So you've pulled probably about 1,000 pulls. If you really played this game and you pulled on, let's say, 2 banners to 400, that's 800 right there, plus some free pulls, right? Take a look at your base SR cards. What I'm not looking for is saying, hey, you have all the nice SR cards, right, in speed. Just look and see if every single one of these is MLB, right? I think it's likely that you have some SR cards, even the ones that are at the start of the game, that probably aren't full MLB, right? You're essentially basically pulling on an additional one of these SRs. So if you're missing a singular one, there is a chance, like I said, that even though you pulled 1,000, that you don't have all these MLB. So what are the odds of pulling 1,000 on this card and getting MLB Admire Vega? You could be unlucky and see a 3LB, right? If you want to look, you can look at the SRs that were released closer to the state, like Tosin Jordan, right? And you may have only pulled 400. Do you have Tosin Jordan Stamina SSR or Stamina SR completely MLB'd or 3LB'd even? It's possible you don't. There's probably one that's lagging behind. And this is kind of expanding your study. You are one person, but you have, in this case, 21 trials, and you have failed one maybe. That's kind of the situation where I want everyone to think about in this. There's no fail-safe for these SR cards, and so just be careful on this banner. This is really what this video has been. There's not much else to talk about on this topic. However, I did want to do a demonstration. This is, if you don't know, I do all these live. That's why live in terms of I do a take. So this could go entirely badly. I don't script things or anything, honestly. I just kind of talk. That's why you hear a lot of ums and therefores and stuff. They're just filler words. I'm going to just try to pull on this banner just in the simulator and see how long it takes after a couple trials just to get the SR Admire Vega. I'm normally a pretty unlucky person in this one, so I don't know what that means. Maybe it just gives me 3 on the first pull. So let's just see how many things it does. So 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So I've gotten 0 in the free pulls. 0, 0, 0, 0, 1. There's the first one. 0. Let's keep going. I may have missed one, but I doubt it. Nope, that's not one. We're at 180. This is going, I guess, illustrating my point better than I thought. So we're at 200 and we have 1 copy right now. Nope. There's 2 right there. Let's see. Again, if I missed one, then it was at 210, I think was when we got 3. And there's 3. So for me, it took 280, which is, I guess, slightly unlucky. And this is just one example, n equals 1. It doesn't hold much, statistical importance. But, like, just me on average, I've already spent, I'm already in 60,000 carat territory, and if I only had 30,000 carats done, I was dead. Like it was 2 LB or it was 1 LB. I would have had a double crystal of 3 LB, and then wait until my 3rd crystal, which happens like halfway through Mant, right? So that actually worked out a lot better than I thought. So don't have to do any more further trials. So again, take this as a fair warning. But like I said, if you enjoy Narita Top Road SSR, pull for that card. All right. 2-9, going to get the overviews out, like I said, for the next Champions meeting. This has just been a little side video. Hope you enjoyed. Burb out.